Okay, we are still talking about our children and how living our life in front of them makes a difference. So today I want to talk to you about two different men and their lives and how it made a difference in their legacy and the children and the descendants that came after them. Okay, so we're going to look at these two people's lives and we're going to ask ourselves the question, does it really matter? Does it make a difference how I live in front of my children? I think the answer is going to be pretty clear. So first we're going to look at John Edwards. Okay, he was a Puritan preacher in the 1700s. Both of these men, both of them lived in the same time period in the same state in America. Okay, so they had that one thing in common. So we're not comparing, someone who lived in America and someone who lived in Africa and they had totally different things available. Same country, same time period, same state. Okay, so John Edwards, he was a Christian, he was a preacher, and at 13 years old, he went to Yale University. And finally, he ends up actually becoming the president of Princeton College. He gets married, he has 11 kids, and every day he spends time with those children, okay? And every night he prays with them and talks to them about the Lord. So this is what he did. He's the president of a college, he's still making time for 11 kids. Now let's look at his heritage, okay? 1 U.S. vice president, 3 U.S. senators, 3 governors, 3 mayors, 13 college presidents, 65 college professors, 75 military officers, 80 public servants, 60 doctors, 60 authors, 30 judges or advocates, 100 lawyers, and 100 pastors. Wow. I'm thinking that's a great legacy. A lot of important people, influencers, world changers, leaders. Okay, now let's look at Max Juke. Like I said, from the same time, same place, same state. He was not a Christian. He was a criminal. He had no morals. Okay, from his generation, from his legacy, we see 7 murderers, 60 thieves, 190 prostitutes, 150 other criminals. 310 of his descendants died as paupers. They were almost beggars. They had nothing. 440 of them, their lives were completely ruined by alcoholism. And out of the 1,200 that were studied, 300 of his descendants died prematurely. So we see John Edwards and we see Max Juke. Both of them are men. Both of them from the same time period. Both of them had the same chance to influence their children. And we see what a difference it made. So going back to Psalms 127 verse 4, children are supposed to be arrows in our hand. Okay, but it doesn't just automatically happen. It does say, we should be happy, blessed, fortunate having children. But you know what an arrow, it's like a stick with a spear at the end. It's like a stick with, that pointy thing. Every tree doesn't become an arrow. So for a tree to become an arrow, it has to be whittled down, it has to be formed, it has to be molded. And if we're not taking time to form and mold our children, they do not automatically become arrows. Okay? And you know what? They can be arrows for good or they can be arrows for evil. What are we imparting in them? So I see children like a garden. And we determine largely how that garden comes. Is that garden going to be fruitful? Is it going to have vegetables or fruits? What are we planting? Or are we just leaving it wild? Yeah, it's okay if there's 50% weeds, 50% something might grow. Okay, the garden doesn't decide what grows. The gardener decides what grows. Okay, so as parents, we have to be involved in our kids' lives. We have to take the time to plant a seed. We have to take time to pull the weeds. Yeah, it's hard work. It's true. But you know what? Life affords no greater responsibility and no greater privilege than raising the next generation. That's a quote by C. Everett Koop. And I think it again comes back to that analogy of a garden. There's no greater responsibility or privilege than raising that next generation. So going the second mile. Parents, what are we going to do with our gardens? God entrusted us with these gardens. Are we going to plant good seed? Are we just going to hope something grows? Nothing just grows magically. Are you just waiting for a bird to fly by and drop something into the garden and hope? It doesn't happen. We have to be strategic in planting the Word of God into our children and removing the weeds and teaching our children this is a weed. We don't want this. So I just pray and I encourage you, going the second mile, be involved in helping your children have fruitful, productive lives, and you will find the rewards are innumerable.